Today we talk about the art and beauty of the lanky midfielder. How would you describe lanky? Google's definition is someone who is ungratefully thin and tall. And how would you describe midfielder? Well, someone who plays a midfield in a football game. Put the two together and you get the likes of Yaya Toure, Mousa Dembele, Abu Dhabi, Paul Pogba. This type of footballer is maybe the most aesthetically pleasing player to watch. Good touch for a big man is inaccurate when speaking about these guys. I'd say good height for a touch man, I don't know. But let's crack on with maybe one of the most underrated footballers we've ever seen in the Premier League, Yaya Toure. Got his big break at Barcelona but made his name at Manchester City. He played under Pep Guardiola and it never was going to fit. He wasn't a tiki-taka style of player, but he did still have some great years in Spain. But when he came to Manchester City, it was something I'd never seen before. I was 11 years old when Yaya Toure moved to Man City in 2010, and I've grown up on the Steven Gerrards, the Frank Lampards, the Xabi Alonsos, the Cesc Fabregases, and all these players were brilliant in their own right. But I think something changed when Yaya Toure came over to Manchester City, because he was built like an absolute brick you know what. He was always listed at 6'2", but I feel it's in the same way that Kevin Durant in the NBA is listed at 6'9", or lads on Tinder are listed at 5'11". I don't think any of the three are correct. From what I saw on the TV, he was about 6'4", 6'5", but he could move like he was 5'9". He wasn't built like a mega athlete. I mean, you saw someone like a Didier Drogba, he had the perfect body. You saw someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, they had the perfect bodies for football. Yaya Toure, he never looked overweight by any means, but he didn't look like that quote-unquote stereotypical athlete, but he was so quick, he was so agile, he was so strong. But his touch was the main thing that set him apart from all the other bruiser midfielders. Yes, he could battle with the best of them, he was huge, he could compete physically with any other midfielder in the league, but he had the touch of a Mesut Ozil, he had the touch of a David Silva, and this is why he was able to score 20 Premier League goals in a season, because he would just burst through midfield. He would burst through like he was playing against loads of 14-year-olds. It's like this time in Sunday League where a 13-year-old lad hits the growth spurt before everyone else and has a bit of a dodgy moustache and just drives through midfield. You're not touching him at all, and I think that's how so many midfielders and defenders felt against Yaya Toure. I always see it with these type of players like a boxer with a really long reach, or a basketball player with a huge wingspan. It doesn't necessarily mean you'll be a better player than other players around you, but I think it allows you to defend yourself or the ball better than other players can. And I'll die on this hill, I think it is a lost art of bursting through the midfield. People want to pass around them nowadays, and why wouldn't you? Pep Guardiola has made it into the thing to do. However, sometimes just bursting through that midfield line or that defensive line is so much more effective than going down these wings, putting it into the box. And we saw that with Yaya Toure constantly. Not to just drone on about Toure, think about Mousa Dembele. Mousa Dembele was one of the most talented players I've ever seen play football in England. That sounds like a ridiculous statement because he never hit the peaks of someone like a Toure. But I think without injuries, his progression will just keep on going on and on. And I mean, if you ask any Spurs fan, I think they are obsessed with the man. But he was so good at using his body against other players, which sounds a bit silly in a way because obviously you're using your body to play football. But I think it is a bit of an underrated skill that players know how to use their body type. Erling Haaland knows exactly what his body type is. He's a huge 6'5" Viking build, and he plays like it. He plays off the shoulder, he bullies defenders, he can jump higher than everyone else. And John McGinn has a bigger rear end than most footballers, and he backs into players and they can't do anything about it. Mousa Dembele was a tall, strong midfielder. He protected the ball so well, but he also drove through the midfield so well. They could not get anywhere near him, and the fact that he had very quick feet in addition to his physique and his strength and his pace, I think that was one of the main strong points of Pochettino's Spurs in the mid-2010s that helped them nearly get to a title. There's loads, isn't there? I mean, Abu Dhabi, great example. He was going to be Vieira 2.0. He was going to be the new and improved player, and unfortunately he just had injuries. I mean, the injury list was ridiculous for him, but he could have been world class. I mean, Zinedine Zidane, is he the best lankiest midfielder of all time? I mean, he might be the best midfielder of all time, so you know what, I'm going to give him the best lankiest midfielder of all time. People forget Zidane is quite tall. I think he's about 6'1", 6'2", and he's lengthy as well. And the way he could control the ball, the way he could shield the ball from players, I think is very similar to how Yaya Toure and Mousa Dembele did it. But I'd argue, and this might be a bit controversial, the best player to watch on his day when he's on top form and the stars align Paul Pogba, and he is the best lankiest midfielder I've ever seen in my lifetime. I didn't see it enough as Zidane, I was too young. When Pogba wanted to, Pogba was the best midfielder in the world. You know, he got in the team of the year when he was in his early 20s, and he's coming back from his ban, and I think his career is going to be over. I don't think there's much coming back from it. But those Juve years and those Man United years where he wasn't advertising emojis at half-time against Liverpool, wow, what a player he was. I mean, search Paul Pogba assist to Giroud on YouTube. You know, I'll just show you now.
Pogba. Ça c'est un bon centre. C'est un très bon centre. C'est un très bon centre.
That might be one of the best assists I've ever seen. And one of my favourite parts about it, yes, the pass, but just the way he hit the ball from left to right. Most players couldn't do that because it's a very easy skill to do, but because of Pogba's telescopic legs, the defender can get absolutely nowhere near him. And when you are 6'4", 6'5", like a Paul Pogba, with the speed of the way he moves the ball across from each foot, then there's nothing the defender can do in that situation. I do think these are like the unicorns of football, that back in the day when you were younger, if you were tall, if you had no ability, you're going in centre back or net, and if you had some ability, you're going up top. There wasn't much in between. And obviously the taller you are when you were younger, normally the harder it was to play with your feet. That is why the phrase a good touch for a big man came about. But let's face it, look at Peter Crouch. He didn't have great feet, he was just average Premier League player, but everyone thought he had a great touch for a big man. But in recent years, you look at a Paul Pogba who's only probably a few inches smaller than Peter Crouch. He had a better touch than 99% of all footballers. And I think the way positions are obviously going to evolve and evolve and evolve, I think this is one of the funnest positions that has evolved over the years. You've got some of the best players, but some of the most athletic players who might have been shunned away from that position in previous years. Now they get pushed into it because it is one of the most exciting positions to be in. And let's face it, everyone wants to be a centre midfielder until you realise the amount of running that you got to do, and then you go further out to the wing, centre back. I mean, we all know how the game goes. Some current ones, because I just always bang on about the past. Fabian Ruiz for Spain, you know, he got in the team of the tournament for the Euros. He might not be as athletic as the people I've mentioned previously, but he definitely has a great touch, and he's very mobile for his size. Could you call Jude Bellingham one? I see Jude Bellingham more of a Gerrard as a Lampard type, that I don't think he's brilliant technically. I just think he works so hard and he knows where to be and into the right time. But I mean, if you compare him to a Paul Pogba, he's a world apart from the technical ability of him. I think there is one player in the Premier League who is carrying the torch for these lanky midfielders, and that is Ryan Gravenberch for Liverpool. He had a bit of a dodgy season last year. I mean, he was a wonder kid, and I think expectation might have been a bit too high for him. But now that Arne Slot has kind of made him into a bit of a hybrid defensive mid, centre mid, I think he's working really well. And what I think he does brilliantly, which I think people with just telescopic legs can do, open the body up and let the ball just run off the right or left foot, and then they can go get it with the stride. And when you are lanky, when you have those limbs that can just push people off, and a lot of these skinnier players have that hidden strength. But let's make midfielders drive through the defence again. I mean, honourable mention to Joel Matip. He's not a midfielder, but he keeps that energy in centre-back. He actually retired recently, so fair play to him. For Liverpool, he was fantastic at starting some attacks because he just run through the midfield, and I think people forget to do that sometimes. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of these midfielders. Are they the best to watch? Are they better players to watch? Tell me, maybe I'll make a video on it and I get some more ideas. Well, thanks for watching the video. If you could leave a like, a comment, and if you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be brilliant. And see you next time.